All right, so after you get that piece cut off about 3 inches, 3.5 inches, you start putting it in the door, feeding it through, and that little notch right there is what you slide into the straight piece, and make sure that you get it clipped down inside, and then you just start working it. And this is where I've got it so far. You just start bending it. As you're bending it, you're going to notice this starting to happen. And what you'll end up doing is just snipping that off with your dikes. But I'm going to continue to work it out. You can either use tape or a towel, rags, whatever. But I would recommend definitely doing something to help protect. If your paint if you've got a good paint job or you've just redone it with a new paint. If it's old and you don't care, then don't worry about it. All right, then once you get that clipped, I brought it down just a little bit further, about like to here, and kind of pinched it just a little bit, and then started pushing it all the way up. And as I was doing that, it just started snapping, boom and boom. Basically, it is all on. So that part is done, and now I've got these pieces here to put in. All right, so I've got one of them on. Now I've got the other side to do. Again, you want to make sure you probably put tape down on these edges if you want to protect that paint, because most likely you'll get it scratched. I took the tape off just a little too soon and realized, I don't know if you can see it, but got a little scratch, but that's okay, because it's okay. Anyway, next step, before I put this one in, I'm going to actually put that regulator in. This is still loose down on the bottom, and these other screws, so that it can move. Let's see here if I can show you. I went ahead and I already got it placed in, but you want this thing to be able to move down because it is a tight fit to get this up through, but it's doable. So anyway, I've got that up, and those screws that I had painted are dry, and I'm gonna get that mounted. One thing I was also going to mention here is I'm kind of a stickler when it comes to using the right tool for the right job, and that goes down to something as simple as a screwdriver. These heads here, or this screwdriver takes a number 3, and there is a difference. Number 3, number 2, number 1. You're welcome to use whatever the hell you want, but if you don't use the right one, you're most likely going to strip something out. So anyway, I always make sure I use the right size screwdriver. All right, so I've got these 4 in, holding the regulator on. And then there's this one right here that is actually helps tighten up the division bar. I actually forgot that let me show you here. That one right there, also, that square nut also is not the same size as the original. The original is an actual 1224, which that is an oddball size. You don't see very much 1224. So you either have to take that all out and redo put the original in the same spot, or do what I did and take find out what the actual threads were on that one, which was a 10/32. So what I ended up doing is cutting those down to a 10/32, so I can reuse the same one. So that on this particular one, it's the same screw, but just cut to a 10/32. So now I'm going to put that on. FYI, just remember that, because that'll cause you a problem, both of those. Also, I'd mentioned something about these screws being aluminum, and that's not the case. They just feel like aluminum. They kind of look like aluminum, but I tested them and they are definitely not. So they are not aluminum. All right, well, that worked. That is in there. Cut from the 12/24 down to the 10/32, and then these bolts and nuts are on. Now, none of this stuff is completely tightened down. I never like to tighten anything down until I make sure they're the exact fit. All right, the next thing that's going in is the latch and the control. So let me see. Let me get it in position, and I'll show you kind of how I put it in. All right, so you get it, the arm there, put onto the actual latch, and you feed it all the way in. You get the whole thing inside there, and you'll have to just maneuver it. You'll have to turn it. You have to turn it up, and then this thing will slide up. I wish I could have somebody film this, but anyway, I think you'll figure it out. So you got it inside the compartment. You push it back to where you can turn it, get it over the window track there, and get it into place. So I got it over, put the latch inside, and then you just kick the bar over and up in the hole, put in your screws. All right, so I'm going to put the other side on, and just what you want to do is use a plastic putty knife to more or less get in between here. That way you can fit this sharp edge in without scratching, and then you just pull it over past these and clip them in. If you don't feel comfortable doing it that way, put a piece of tape there. It'll help protect it. All right, there it is. The other one's in. So, going on to the next. Okay, so got the bolts on there, and now I'm gonna get this put on. Basically, what I've done, let's see if I can get to the light just right here. Slide that in. You don't have to worry about taking that thing out. Let's see. Get that right there. And then basically, you just fit it over it, push it down, and it'll lock itself. See if I can. It's kind of hard with one hand. Just like that. It locks it in. So, all right. Moving on. All right, I took and blackened those bolts for the armrest. And I'll use nylock nuts and washers on the back side.